Hello to all our travel advisor partners. It's Richard again, bringing you best wishes from all your friends and colleagues here at the Royal Caribbean Group. It's now been more than 4 months since we suspended sailing, and every one of those days has been a challenge to all of us on every level. The impact on us as individuals, as families, as businesses, and as communities, it's been profound, even humbling. And in the scheme of things, we are the lucky ones. It's just awful. Unfortunately, the situation in the U.S. continues to be confusing and disturbing. Recent news about COVID-19 has been almost exclusively negative. There's been a major growth in new cases across the country, and communities are reimposing tighter restrictions. Statistics on fatalities are less dire, but there is normally a several-week lag between new cases and new fatalities, so we can expect to see the rising case figures impact the fatality statistics soon. Increased testing doesn't explain much of this difference. The picture is discouraging, and people are, appropriately, getting increasingly worried and frustrated. Contrast that with the news from Europe and Asia. There, the news has been almost exclusively positive. Businesses are opening up quickly and efficiently. Restrictions on normal life are rapidly falling away, and life is returning towards normalcy. There are flare-ups there too, but they seem to be more quickly identified and controlled. People are increasingly confident that life will gradually return to normal. As an American, this is incredibly embarrassing. There is simply no excuse for the United States to do worse than almost all the other developed countries in the world. And yet chart after chart shows that's just what's happening. One can easily understand the early confusion in February and March, but today that excuse just doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Think back to when this all started in the U.S., just a little over 4 months ago. At that time, we knew very little about the disease or how to deal with it. We didn't know how the disease manifested itself or how to identify who had it. We knew it was contagious, but we didn't have a clear idea of how it spread. We only had testing capacity for a few dozen tests a day. And the most common comment from the experts was, "We just don't know." The situation today is hugely different. There are still big gaps in our knowledge, but we're not just ahead of where we were, we are vastly ahead. We now know that a large percentage of infected people show little or no symptoms. We now know that surface contamination is not an important vector of the infection. But I think there are two things we now know that are particularly relevant. Firstly, scientists now know that the main source of spread is simply breathing in other people's air. COVID-19 is a respiratory virus, and it is mainly communicated from one person to another by inhaling the water droplets that everybody exhales when we breathe, talk, or cough. The second important element is that it takes more than a trivial amount of contact to transmit the disease. The experts talk about viral load and suggest that to be contagious, it usually requires being closer than 6 feet to someone for more than 15 minutes. Together, these two factors are key not only to the problem, but also to the solution. If we all make a small effort, we can make an enormous difference. Now, I know face coverings are a royal pain to wear. They're uncomfortable, they look funny, they even prevent your iPhone from opening when you look at the screen. But if we all do what they tell us, if we all take the steps to wear a face covering and to keep separated by at least 6 feet, it won't take long to bring this disease under control. As I said, our shortcoming is not in our knowledge. It's in what we do with that knowledge, and unfortunately, what some people refuse to do. In America, we pride ourselves on our individualism. But taken too far, individualism can begin to look a lot like selfishness. We should be angry that so many people are ignoring the simple fact that by exposing themselves to others, they are helping the spread of the disease. We should be angry that some people refusal to comply extends the pain of the lockdown that inevitably follows for all of us. So I'm frustrated, but I'm also optimistic. I hate the fact that we're seeing these rising numbers across the country. And I hate the fact that our country has fallen behind in this fight. And I also hate the fact that we're having to reverse so many of the reopening measures. But I'm also optimistic at how easy it is to fix this. It's clear that we don't have to go into hibernation to constrain the spread. We just need to follow a few simple, practical restrictions for a short period of time to bring the numbers low enough that we can all feel comfortable again. Every one of us has a role to play in this effort, both in the self-discipline that we exercise in our own lives and in the way we encourage others to play by the same rules. And since we're on the topic of best practices, this is a good time to update you on the work of our Blue Ribbon Healthy Sail panel. The panel has now begun doing its work for a little over a month, and it's impressive to watch them work towards solutions to the challenges that they were presented with. This is an example of constructive leadership. I'm genuinely excited by what I see in these individuals and in the panel working as a group. They're really going into depth on every topic, whether it is the air conditioning system or the practicalities of social distancing, or even the utensils used in a buffet setting. Where they don't themselves have the personal expertise, they bring in other experts who do. Most of you know that I am terribly proud of the passion that the people of Royal Caribbean demonstrate every day. And seeing that same kind of passion amongst the panel members is truly invigorating. The co-chairs repeatedly remind me that while a cruise ship has special challenges, it also has special opportunities. We've already seen that this is an area where some special, innovative ideas can make a big difference. Our objective is not only to meet the minimum safety requirements, but to actually make the ship safer than the communities where our guests come from. I was pleased that Governor Leavitt joined me on my last video and gave the opportunity to interview him on the work of the panel. I hope that video helped you understand why we're also excited about what he and Dr. Gottlieb are doing with the other members of the panel. At Royal Caribbean Group, we still won't restart until we and the authorities are satisfied that we can do so with all the appropriate protocols in place. Germany is an interesting case in point. The prevalence of the disease in Germany is now so low and the protocols so developed that we and the authorities consider it safe to proceed. Our first cruise there set sails this Friday. Now, there's a phrase I've been looking forward to saying for a long time. It's a small start, but it's an important one. Just as daffodils are an important sign of spring, I hope this small start in Germany bodes well for our future resumption. It won't be immediate, but it is coming. These 4 months have been the longest 4 months any of us can remember. Even if it means that we're 4 months closer to getting to the other side of this terrible time, when you're in the middle, like we are, it can feel like the troubles are never going to end. But they do. And like the Depression did, and world wars, and the anxiety that came after 9/11, all of these ended. That may not be much comfort when all of our businesses are suffering so badly right now, but this too shall pass, and when it does, we will be prepared. Now, I've encouraged you before to wash your hands. Now I'm asking that you also wear a face covering. It won't take much, but we can do it. So, for all our sakes, cover your face and wash your hands.